I was in Dublin, the debut of Dublin, NFL Dublin. Firstly, like a huge thank you to the city of Dublin, the country of Ireland, for putting on such a fantastic event, and the things that we did over there. Like, it was really good fun. I got there on the Thursday. I got there Thursday daytime, and I had a little wander, and I went by the portal. You know what I mean by the portal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So weirdly enough, I was on the other side of the portal just 2 weeks ago, as some people may know or have seen or heard when I've on social media or watching these. I was in Philadelphia, and the other portal, one of the other portals, is in Philadelphia. So when I got there, I saw it, and it was the square in Philadelphia, and it was like 4 a.m. there, so there was no one there. But it was like really cool to see. So I gave our friend at the Irish NFL show, Shane Brennan, a text and said, "Oh, I'm just going by the portal." And he said, "Oh, well, I work over the road. I'll come down and get a coffee with you." We sat in Starbucks and just chatted for a little bit, and then other coffee shops are available, or if Starbucks ever wants to sponsor us, I suppose. We wandered around there. I just wandered around a bit. I went to the Steelers shop, went to the NFL shop, went and wandered around the park, which was quite nice. The Steelers shop, I have to say, was a little bit of it was a bit disappointing for me.
Right. Okay.
Well, it was just like sort of a pop-up, really, and it wasn't. I mean, things are so expensive now, man. Like you were saying about, like, I know you're saying you don't bother about jerseys, but like they're just so expensive. All these things, and obviously everything's that. There's a lot of people. There was a fair amount of people in there. All Americans. All the Americans were there Thursday to like Monday, Tuesday, or maybe going elsewhere in Ireland after that, and then all the Europeans landed Saturday. So that's when the city really like took off. Like all the English and maybe other Irish people commuted, or and the Germans and the French and Spanish and all other nationalities all arrived on the Saturday. So that's when it felt like it was sort of the busiest. But yeah, the NFL shop was a bit more to do, I suppose. And then I had a little pop round, and then on the Friday we went to the Steelers practice. Went to their press conference, which was very surreal for me, being a Steelers fan that I am. Yeah, I don't know. Did you saw some of the clips I put on socials? Did you think my questions were all right?
Yeah, I thought your questions were all right when you want me to critique your question.
Yeah, that we're going to deep dive into the questions I asked. Yeah.
No, I thought it was. I mean, how did it sort of go with? Because to me, I feel there's been a change in public opinion of a certain quarterback.
Oh,
and
Aaron.
Yeah, genuinely, I do. And I felt like when he was with us at Green Bay, towards the end, it was very sort of like, it got quite niggly and a bit nasty, I think, between him and the organization. And I feel like it was a popular thing to hate on Rodgers and to really have a go. And then obviously, he's had his couple of years at the Jets, and that didn't really work out. And now he's with the Steelers. And I noticed just on social media or a couple of different sort of WhatsApp groups that I think we're both part of that are like, got quite a lot of different NFL fans in the UK in it and stuff like that. And there was a reaction of almost like, this feels really weird. I feel like I want Rodgers to win. And that sort of, I saw some of the content that we put out and the questions that you put out and stuff like that. And he came across really well, and that he was really interested and that he was engaged with everything and everyone that was there. And I noticed another thing that, as always, what always happens when the first time this event happens in a country or whatever, they always ask people about coming back and obviously like giving his age,
being there for the first time and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And all that sort of thing. Yeah.
So you get all that, and he came out and said, like 100% they should come back here. The whole experience was fantastic. Shout out to everyone that made it happen and all that sort of thing.
He even critiqued the calendar that they went by, that he really wished they'd come on Monday and got a little
Right.
bit more of the free time, and was very much like, I do get it. Like, I get the scheduling. It's the team's decision. I'll go the team's decision. But if it was, that was in the post press, that was post game.
Yeah.
He said, if it was up to me, I'd got it Monday. Maybe giving us 1 or 2 days to maybe explore it, like, because he was incredibly. I think one of the things you were saying about the popularity contest, I suppose, with him now is he was being incredibly respectful of Ireland and being very knowledgeable about it. I know people could just say buzzword Guinness, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. But he clearly was wanting to be there. Do you think an element of it is the Pat McAfee thing happened at college and the fact he's in with them and how much they had a good time and how much people love him and that lot over there? Do you think there is an element of that? That they all know their
Yeah.
pals, that sort of thing?
Probably, yeah. I mean, that
Mm.
kind of makes sense. Although I do feel like Rogers is just a different kind of person, isn't he, compared to most NFL players? So I think he will always, I think, even if you disagree with the things that he comes out with, it kind of feels like he's taken time out of his life to learn about them. Now, whether you feel that he's learned the right things or the wrong
Yeah.
things are different, but it
He's
does. He comes across
he is
like that.
educated. He is
Yeah,
educated. Like, you can tell he said it. He said pre and post as well that he's a historian. He's into that sort of thing. So
yeah,
you believe that about him. I mean, definitely. And it was great seeing that. Tomlin was very much Tomlin. I would
yeah.
say the only other person who I thought was more worse at the podium was Dayball. Dayball was terrible when
Okay.
we saw him in Germany. And I was told by certain New York media that, he was going to be terrible because he's always terrible.
Yeah.
And obviously they were doing pretty terribly at that point as well in Germany. It'd been last season, yeah, because it was at the Bayern Munich training ground. TJ Watt was good fun. I had it drafted and I didn't post it, and I'm like miffed at myself for it. My like big question to him was, I said to him, given the current popularity in brothers doing podcasts and within the media, and one tends to play, and that he and me went, no, 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 and just started laughing. And I was like, did you not think it'd be fun for JJ and Derek to come over and you'd see him on social media around Dublin, drinking Guinness, having fun? He was like, no, no, like JJ's got his stuff with CBS. Derek's a family man. Like, it's fun. Like, they brought us a few years ago for when JJ played, I assume that would be in London, or they would have gone over. Maybe they were doing something at some point with him. But he said they had a really great fun and a great laugh. But yeah, he was very much like, nope, it's this is about football, this trip, and we can come over some other time to have fun, which was fun. You know what they kept saying the buzzword was business trip. That was like their
Okay.
thing. Was like, this is a business
Mm.
trip. Like, that's Tomlin said that a few times. We're here to do business as a business trip, and not in a way that it was doing some sort of movie tagline thing, but it was
Yeah.
very, you could tell that. I suppose with these games, in the international games, and maybe London gets a little bit marked with this as well, with Americans maybe, is people just say, well, it's just a bit of a novelty. And you're like, well, no, because if the Steelers didn't win this game, like I said
Yeah.
it in the stadium, this is a clutch game this is a bit of a make or break game for our season. Like, we had to go in and win that. We had to. And I think the Vikings could have afforded to lose. I mean, we won 24-21 in the end. We were
Yeah.
pretty dominant. The score line, it looks like Minnesota are in it. They came back in the fourth quarter quite well, but we dominated the game for vast majority of that game. And
Yeah, and it also feels very much like that the Steelers have got a bit of an opportunity now as well
yeah,
with what's happened, and we'll talk about that later on. But like, it does feel like they have an opportunity,
yeah,
and I think I think given the way that the NFL has moved towards international games and the sort of like the expansion of it and how it's getting more and more, like every year there's more, they have to take it as though it's a business trip. It's serious. They have to take it as though at the end of the day, this is a regular game. So it's just as important as the game that's over in in Pittsburgh, or if they were away and playing again in Minnesota.
So yeah, right, you're right. You're right, because you go back to America now 3-1, not 2-2.
Mm.
And that's, on the flip side, we said it last week when we were talking. The Vikings are now what? Let me just quickly. They're now 2-2. They go back to America 2-3. Whew,
Yeah,
that's a worry. That's panic stations. I think a little bit for Minnesota, to be honest with you. So yeah, the press conference.
well,
We did press
it is
conference.
with Detroit,
Yeah,
isn't it? Definitely. I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah, exactly. So we did the press conference. Something very, very fantastic happened after the press conference and went into the into the evening, which is a story I won't share. That is very much a story between me and 3 other people. Big up them guys. I'm not going to share that story. Maybe I'll tell you if people see me ever around. I will tell that story because it's not bad, but there's no need to share it. It's so grand. Well, to a lot of people, whoever can find it on the internet, I suppose. Well, that night we went to the Pro Football Island show, which was really good. That was good fun. Lots of great guests there, Mike McQuaid I believe it's Mark Hogan. I know he's got a twin brother. I think his twin brother was Chris, I believe. I always get it wrong way around. I'm really sorry if I have offended you, either of you. But it was a really good show. Had some great guests, Greg Rosenthal, Neil Reynolds, Colleen Wolfe, a couple of ex-players as well. FA Barda was there. I actually, weirdly, am now like pretty pally with FA because some Irish guy was taking the mickey out of me and he was really drunk. And then FA sort of laughed along with, he was taking the mick out of my mustache. And FA thought it was really funny, but it was taking the mick out of my mustache. So then I started.
I mean, we all do. So
Yeah, well, I never thought I would berate FA Abada in front of him to his face, but I did it and he laughed. So,
oh, that's all right then.
well, no, I saw him at the game. I actually bumped into him at the game in the stands late in the game as well, like halftime, and he gave me the biggest hug. And like, I've met FA a few times, not like properly, but I've seen him a few times. Like, Jesus Christ, is he massive? Like, he is so big. Like, he picked me up and like pulled me like this up. And if anyone's seen me in person, I ain't that big a guy. I'm like 6 foot and like, barely 12 stone. I'm tiny. And I felt more of a smaller man after that. But it was all in good fun, to be fair. We actually had a really cool halftime. Like, we actually chatted at halftime for like a fair bit about the game. And he was like, who do you actually support? I was our Steelers. And I was telling him about what I thought was going wrong. He was like, no, you're right. Like, I kept going, it's in the middle of the park. Every time they get slanters in that middle, our safeties and corners, they don't know whether to push the linebackers. There's just this big gap that happened all season. And he agreed. So I must know something about playing football.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was really cool to see. And then the night after that, we went to we met with a lot of friends, which was really fun. Went for a bit of a pub tour, which was good. And we went to the Irish NFL show that they did in a pub, the Arlington Hotel, which was really good. And they had ex-Super Bowl winner Steelers legend Bryant McFadden. Really fun night as well. Our friend Shane Brennan presented it. He did wonderful job, absolutely wonderful. Love Shane, great guy, and congratulations to both PFI and the Irish NFL show for putting on 2 incredible events and really, really growing what was already a highly anticipated game was grown even more by both of them outlets and other Irish outlets as well, of course. But they did so fantastic with that. And then the game itself, I admit, we may have gone a little bit too heavy on the Saturday night. So we didn't do as much on the Saturday as we were meant to, which is a shame. But I still thoroughly enjoyed my night Saturday night. Me and Andrew came in at the Saturday evening, so it was great with him. And of course, big shout out Andy Davis, who was with us the whole time across the podcast. Really great show. Go check him out as well. Brilliant bloke, really brilliant bloke. I actually couldn't get a program or the little sheets of paper they give you, and he actually donated his to me, which is really nice of him. So now I have that as a souvenir, which is really cool. And then, of course, first time I ever see my team play, and I got to see him win.
Yeah, and they sort of thoroughly deserved it, I would say. Like you said,
more
they
than thoroughly.
Yeah, it felt like that. Carson Wentz just couldn't get anything going, and that was predominantly because of the Steelers' defense just being so strong.
Best game we've had so far this year. Best
Yeah,
game
yeah,
by far.
definitely. They look really good. Obviously, there was the surprise of Jalen Warren not
Yeah,
playing, but Kenneth Gainwell looked great and did really
not
well.
99 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, for
And
what was it? It was 2 hours before.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
big
he
step
did
up.
really well. He came in, looked really good, and I think just the fact of where the game was at the time, I think the DK Metcalf, just the touchdown, just that it was such a big play, kind of just knocked the stuffing out of the Vikings a little bit, and they never really like. It's weird because obviously there was quite a lot of time left in the second quarter, and you've got half time to recover, and they came out and nothing really happened again, and it wasn't until the last quarter where it kind of felt like the Steelers were sort of managing the game a bit, and that was kind of when the Vikings came back a little bit. But it the scoreline reflects well on the Vikings. If that had finished like 24-14 or 24-10, I don't think anyone could really have complained that much. But yeah, the Steelers looked very good, and as I say, I think they've got a chance of winning this division now.
We go back a little bit banged up, admittedly, but
Yeah,
bye week. In fact, I did ask TJ after the game that I said, the bye week coming now, would it have been as nice to keep that momentum? I know the bye week is actually so important to these players, like it's so massively
yeah,
important. But I said to him, about momentum. He said, "Well, no, it is important to us, to have that bye, to get that rest, and we're going to need it because we're a little bit nicked up here, and we need to get them guys back." Jalen Ramsey came off. Obviously, Jalen Warren, like we said, we had a few players going in and out throughout the game. Get Joey Porter back hopefully very soon. Like we need to get them guys back and back fit. And yeah, I mean, like DK Metcalf's what did he get? 126. That's the first time a receiver's gone for 100 yards since George Pickens. I think it was in 2023 or 2022.
what for the
Yeah,
Steelers? So
yeah.
yeah, I mean,
First time we've had a receiver of over 100 yards. So it was
yeah,
bloody
that's not a
needed.
surprise though, to
Not
be honest. I mean,
hugely,
given
but
the quarterback play, it's
yeah.
not an insane surprise. Just quickly before we move on, one thing I do have to ask you. I sort of mentioned this to Andrew, but I'll ask you. He said to me the atmosphere was great. Dublin, the city, the way the city is set up, is
Yeah.
great, and this is all. It's like this is it. This is sort of like this is where you want to go for the sort of NFL experience over here in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a little bit like, because obviously, like the London Games has kind of got a lot of criticism over the last few years about the lack of sort of tailgating and the fact that, obviously, I mean, the prices in Ireland were pretty much the same as the prices here, but the price increase and all that. And it's kind of got criticism of having sort of like poor teams coming over as well.
Mm-hmm.
But is it that it is great, that it is the place and that it is where you want to be going? Is it that much better than London? I mean, or is it just purely that this was game one for the NFL, and so the NFL have sort of like thrown everything at it, pulled out all the stops, got two decent teams,
Well,
because that's a big thing, isn't it? In London, it's like you get one good team and one team that's pretty poor, and
yeah.
you saw that, didn't you, in Germany when they first went to Germany? At the time, the Dolphins were really good and the Chiefs were really good, and then it was almost like they got punished,
But
like for the next one where they had the Colts and
that game was meant to be in Mexico. That's what people always need to
no,
remember.
yeah, I
That was
understand
meant to
that,
be in
but I
Mexico.
mean,
So
like,
that was happenstance at the same time.
yes, yeah, absolutely, but
Yeah.
it does kind of feel a little bit like for that, the first one is always two decent teams. I mean, look at Madrid this year. You know, it's the Commanders, and I know the Dolphins have sort of tailed off now, but like, you know, I think the sort of, I don't know, it always feels a little bit like London now gets a semi-decent, like a decent. So, like when you look at this year, you get the Rams doing really well. The Jags have been pretty poor. You get the Broncos playoff team going against the Jets, really poor, and then you get the Vikings playoff team going against the Browns, really poor. And so, yeah, it's just that thing where it's like, is it just because it's the first one? Have they thrown everything at it and pulled out all the stops, or is it actually the place and the atmosphere and the sort of like the place to go to?
I would definitely say that the NFL didn't put loads on. You know, I've just talked about them events there. That was done by the guys behind these podcasts and media outlets.
Yeah.
It wasn't the NFL that did that. Yeah, we sort of spoke about it afterwards. Would the franchise tag do something like that for them guys did as an event? I'd think about it. I'd be very nervous about it because I get that way about that sort of thing. But more outlets maybe here should be doing that and taking the initiative to do stuff like that. Dublin is also a significantly smaller city than London. It's a lot more concentrated, in where you put things. Now, I could argue you could do that in London and pick an area and make that more concentrated about it. But you've got to pick the right area, admittedly. You've got that thing as well. Ireland at the minute is incredibly popular in pop culture. Incredibly popular. In the media, the actors, the singers. You know, we joke around at the minute that every American seems to have some sort of Irish ancestry. Well, that also attracts a lot of tourists. You know, I definitely thought this was going to be a Steelers homer. I thought it might be more like people would go like, wow, you are just as loud as Heinz Field. That wasn't the case on the day. It became very 50 split at the end, but they started doing a skull chant towards the end in that fourth quarter. And it was like, wow, this is getting loud in here. So it was a really good split. It was actually a really good split. And the one thing all the players kept saying, and I don't agree with it because I've been in the stadiums, I've been in stands, and I also think it's a bit of hearsay. They haven't been here since 2013. The game has developed so much more. I'm talking about the Steelers here. There were a little comment prior and little jab was, you know, having fans that know when to cheer. And then at post game, it seemed that they were very pro all the fans and stuff like that. Now, I don't know if that was a dig at London to Ireland or a UK, Ireland dig or whatever they wanted to mess out with that. But the case this time was, it was true. We were cheering everyone was cheering at the right times. And I think they do in London. I think it's a bigger stadium. You know, there's 74,000 people at Croke Park. It's a big stadium, but it's not as big as Tottenham or Wembley, is it? I'm sure. Well, I'm saying that. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but
I think it's bigger than Tottenham.
Yeah. Well,
not Wembley.
I think that there's a lot of people who are nervous that that'll be one and done, or maybe every other year. I don't know, but I think the city's just got everything that it needs to do to be able to accommodate something like that, with the amount of accommodation, the amount, the accessibility of the city around, the obvious drinking culture and nightlife, which is just one of the world's best. It is one of the world's best. I don't care what people say. Dublin is very expensive. If you never go to Dublin, if you never go to Dublin, I would see it as a shame not to just experience what it's like as a vibrant, fun city. So I'm not saying it's better than London. I think it's better than London currently because I think it's got more going on in terms of just people being closer together and you meeting more people. And for how small it is, there was no queues anywhere at the pubs. You were getting served fast. Yes, there was busy in the pubs, but you go to the fan pubs now here, you're queuing down the street. You got to choose the time to go. There's not multiple fan pubs. There's not multiple. That's the problem, is that we just have one destination in London these fans can congregate at, and we don't diversify up and move it around or have enough that are linked together. And that's what probably needs to improve over here, is sort of having a bit of a fan village here, which we could do. Make the fan village Trafalgar Square for the weekend.
Yeah.
Have a stage.
Because there is very little, isn't there, when it comes to Tottenham? and
There is
around the
hugely
stadium.
little,
There's
hugely little,
very little
but they
there.
are, they are handcuffed with the area they've got,
Yeah.
and that's no exposure to Tottenham. But there is no that everything is housing there. It's
Yeah.
where people live. You know, it's where people live.
Mm.
It was the same for Croke Park. People were very surprised about that being in the middle of pretty much normal people's houses, but that is just what it is, and they do need to work on that. They need to work on something where they have more fans congregate closer together in a more in a more inaccessible location, I suppose.